Hello, everyone. So I'm back again. Today, I have Business Studies Edexcel chapter. If I'm not mistaken, it's chapter 20, the role of an entrepreneur. It's there on the heading if you just see it. So we did this in the last class. We did this yesterday, so it's very fresh. It's an easy chapter. We've talked about entrepreneurs and their role, right? So sorry, it's chapter 19. So we've talked about their different roles, what an entrepreneur should do, must do, right? We've talked about the risks, the rewards. We've talked about how can you have a business idea when you're an entrepreneur, because when you're starting out, you may have a lot of confusion. So we've talked about that, right? And then what are the stages in setting up a business? Yes, so these are the stages that we have talked about. Okay, so today we're going to start with a new topic. Let's talk about it. Okay, so so look at this picture. So this is, what is this? Is this a picture of a factory? Is this a picture of a I don't know. It can be a chemical factory. It can be any kind of factory. So this is a picture of a factory, and it is a business, right? It falls under secondary sector, right? Manufacturing industry. That's what it is known as. And then the second picture that I have for you is this. So what can you understand from this? This is, let's say, for a layman, for a common man's point of view, this is a store, let's say a bag store, okay, a retail store, probably. And it falls under the service sector. It falls under the tertiary sector. I hope you know these things because these are basic stuff, right? Now, the question is, why am I showing you these two pictures? Now, I'm showing you these pictures because think about a manufacturing industry, think about a retail store, which is a tertiary sector, or popularly can be called a service sector. Now, the way the finance is managed in a manufacturing industry and in a tertiary sector is different. The way administration is handled in both the sectors are also different. The way marketing is done is also different. For example, let me give you an example. For example, if you have a factory, if you have a manufacturing industry, would you use social media as a part of your advertising campaign? I don't think so, because you're more linked with businesses. Your business is more B2B, it's not B2C. So you have to use different kind of channels, right? Um, so probably you will use trade exhibitions. You will use let's say business magazines. Yes, trade fairs. These are the possible marketing channels that you're going to use if you're in the manufacturing industry. You won't use let's say you or Instagram or Snapchat, because your business is not directly linked with consumers. For example, let's say you make clothes for a retail shop, or let's say you make bags for this retail shop. Let's just say that. Okay. Now, you're not selling it directly to the consumers. Are you selling it? No, you are selling it to this retail shop or to this particular brand, and they will further advertise it on their Instagram account, Snapchat account, or Facebook, or whatever advertising it is, and they will do it. Okay. But the advertising that you can follow is you can have your own magazine. You can publish it on your own website. You can do trade exhibitions, trade fairs. So see how it's different. Even the way you purchase resources will be different. You will buy it in, for secondary sector or manufacturing industry, you'll buy things in a bulk. But that's not the case for the tertiary sector, even managing people will be different. You will have a lot to manage in this case, but less people in this case. Okay? Um, Production, risks involved. I think the more risks are involved in manufacturing industries. I feel it that way. It can be debated on. But there are more uncertainties. Okay, even the barriers are going to be different, right? Okay, so the kind of business it is, the sector in which it lies, it depends on that, and everything is going to be different. So today we're going to talk about finance, we're going to talk about administration, we're going to talk about marketing, purchasing, managing people, risks and uncertainty and barriers. Okay, when you run, expand, develop a business. Now, why I showed you two different businesses? Because you have to understand it will be different. The scenarios, the cases, the situations will be different from business to business, especially when you're talking about different stages. We have three sectors, right? Primary, secondary, tertiary. So the way you handle finance, administration, marketing, purchasing, and so on will differ. Okay, so keep that in mind. So let's start with financial management. Okay, now, for a business, you need enough money to keep it operating. You need enough of cash flow. Okay. Now, again, for a factory, the money that you need will be much higher. But then, for a retail shop that we have seen, it'll be quite less. But you need cash flow. You need money to run it because you have to pay bills, you have to pay wages, you have to pay electricity bills, you have to pay water bill, gas bill, rent. There's so many bills that incurs in a business, and you constantly need to monitor them. You constantly need to clear them for you to keep the business running. Otherwise, you will have problem. Now, there is a theory that cash flow is more important than profit. Now, what is the difference between two? It's not in this chapter, but you should understand. Profit means when you make a profit. Okay, let's say my cost of making this pen is $15, or let's be realistic. The cost of making this pen, let's say $2, and I have sold it in $6. My profit is $4. But I've sold this pen on credit. On credit, when I'm selling this pen on credit, that means I don't have the cash. I will get the cash later on. But can we do one thing? Instead of selling it for $6, because we know the cost is $2, instead of selling it for $6, instead of being a lot greedy, can we sell it for $4? But let's give a condition to the seller that you have to pay me the cash. You have to pay me in cash. I will reduce the price, but taka chai ei muhurte. So you get $4. You're making less profit, which is true, but then you have that money. You have cash flow. With that cash, you can pay your bills. You can pay wages. You can, you can save. You can invest on some of the stuff, right? So that's there. So think about financial management, right? You will have loans. You will have overdrafts. Now, administration will also differ, and I'm not. It's not about just being different. You need to have an accurate record keeping, record of stocks, record of finance. Okay, tax liabilities, profit. Okay, you have different invoices from your suppliers, from your clients or customers. Let's say you've bought something. You need to have all those records. That is actually administration. Now, if you go to any company, any organization, a proper company, you will see that the administration will have records of everything. They will keep it in a file, or they will, photocopy and keep everything saved in a hard disk, right? Because you may need it, right, later on. So it has to be. So you need to have proper administration. So when you run a business, expand a business, develop a business, all these things will come in place, right? So, if you have any questions, you can put it on the comment section here below. You can also put it on a group that we have. Um, we can also have a phone call chat if you want, right? You can message me and then we can talk if you want. Next, marketing, because I spoke about marketing. Now, when you run a business, now marketing will be different. For example, in case of a small business, for this kind of business, probably you will use social media, you will use email campaign, email pauna, email, 50% offer on this bag, 20% offer on this bag for Eid, or 10% offer on this Punjabi. So that is email campaign. So for a retail shop, you can have a very nice, attractive website. You can do an email campaign. You can distribute brochures. For education institution, we distribute brochures sometimes. Okay, um, that's there. But then for a manufacturing industry, the marketing activities are going to be different, because if you post things on social media, it's not going to help, because we are not the direct buyers. Company will buy products from manufacturing industry and then they will market it. So you can use specialist magazine, you can use trade fairs, you can use trade exhibitions, right? And one more thing is very important is you also need to have a very good relationship with your customers. Okay, keep in touch with them, giving them feedback. Um, so all sorts of things. Okay, right. So marketing, and when the business develops, your quality of marketing material should also develop. Okay, when I go 5 years back and look at my Facebook posts for our organization, um, it was so different, and it was also inferior. Every day, every year, we improved it. We tried to make it more sophisticated. We tried different things. Sometimes we failed, sometimes we succeeded, and that's how it happened. So when you go forward, when you because making a business is like a journey. So when you go forward, things will have to change. It needs to be more sophisticated. It needs to be, you need to articulate and think about your target audience. Yeah. So that's that. Purchasing. Okay. Now, as a business, you have to buy resources all the time. Now, since we're talking about a small bag retail store, they need to buy, always they need to buy stocks, from the suppliers. They need to buy different resources. It can be cleaning materials, it can be printing materials, it can be envelopes, it can be stationaries, it can be computers. There we go. And you look at lowest possible price. But for a factory, again, resources will be different. You need to buy equipments, huge machinery. Now, purchasing will be totally different, because each machinery may cost a lot of money, probably in millions of dollars or crores. So things will be different there. Yeah, and one common important thing is that you need to have a good relationship with the supplier. Why? Because if you have a good relationship, suppliers may give you a lot of facilities, like they may give you trade credit. Trade credit means getting the resources now but paying them later. They will give you good quality product. Okay, they will suggest you. Yes, so developing a good relationship with supplier is good, and you can explore new opportunities, and of course you need to have good negotiating skills, okay, so that they can reduce the cost. But most importantly, try to have a good relationship with your suppliers, because suppliers will give you resources, suppliers will give you materials, right? And your product is defined by the resources, by the materials that you use to make your product. So having a good relationship is pertinent, um, in this case. Yeah. Purchasing. Okay. Managing people. Yeah. Yeah. So in a factory, in an industry, you will have a lot more people to manage, probably 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. In service sector, less people. But then managing is quite important. Okay. Communicating with them, because you cannot always, as a, let's say, you're a founder of a company and you cannot always run behind people. You cannot always tell them what to do. Okay, it has to run without the founder, it has to run independently. Okay, so you need to spend time on recruitment to find the right people for the job with better knowledge, with better skills. Okay, so managing people is very important. And as an entrepreneur or whatever, as a person who runs an organization, I find managing people very difficult. I'm better now, but when I started off, I wasn't good. I was not good at all, um, because I was an introvert. But then I learned it. I learned it on the way, and still I need to improve a lot of things. There are a lot of faults, but yeah, managing people. Do we have anything else? Production. Okay, production. Um, uh, you know, uh, Production means we're talking about manufacturing industry. Now, in manufacturing construction or manufacturing industry, things will be different. Now, let's think about a soft drink, factory. They will need different kinds of equipment connected together, right? Mixing chemicals, filtering the water. Yes, you have to check the product quality. You need to check the consistency of the product. You need to ensure that the people who works in your business are safe. হঠাৎ করে যেন explode. In factories there's always this risk, so you have to make the environment health and safe for everyone. So yeah, and again, the similar things applies to service. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. We're moving on to the next segment, which is entrepreneurship. Have you ever heard of the term entrepreneurship? So entrepreneurship means someone who has an innovative idea and creates a business of his or her own using that idea, a creative, innovative idea. And entrepreneurship means you create an idea within a business. Let's say you have a business. Let's say you have there's a called business A, and they make bags. And within business A, you find out that there's an employee who is very good and who has this very good crazy idea that you really like, and opportunity to create a product with your business, right? And that is entrepreneurship. Okay, creating a business inside a business. Okay, so entrepreneurs are employees, usually in large businesses, who use entrepreneur skills to develop initiatives, and that will have financial benefit. So an employee of mine can create a business within our company. Okay, um, so there we go. Uh, and there are companies, big companies, who really encourage entrepreneurship, and we will talk about it. Okay, and this is good because it keeps the spirit of entrepreneurship alive. Because I mean, instead of going out and creating your own business, you can just do it inside the existing business. You can have a certain share. It's a situation for both the parties, right? Not. And Google, Apple, they have done it. For example, if you think about, like, Google has many products, right? Maps and email. and there's search and a lot in the education business. Not all business were created by the heads. Some of the businesses I know were created as an by the employees of Google, right? Probably somebody was working. An example, I'm not sure. Let's say somebody was working on a separate email account, and it became so good that they launched it. Okay, Google has this amazing. It's very underrated, but they have this amazing camera, a similar app like WhatsApp and Viber, which is known as Google Duo, and what I read was it came from one of the employees. It was his pilot project, experimental project, and it was so good that they helped that employee. And Apple does it all the time. Facebook does it all the time. Okay, so entrepreneurship. This is good. So if in your see employee having great idea, they don't need to go out and start their own business. Instead, you ask them to start the business within your company, within your firm. So that is entrepreneurship. Now, advantages are, people will be motivated. Okay, it'll drive innovation, right? It'll have new commercial opportunities. You're unlocking new commercial opportunities and possibilities. Yes. The second advantage is that when employees work on their own project, they will feel satisfied. They will feel motivated, as stated in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They will feel that okay, they have reached their highest level, self-actualization. They're doing something very impactful. Okay, and this can raise their productivity. This can raise their efficiency. Okay, a lot of awards can be won. UK has a lot of sections and awards for entrepreneurship, so keep that in mind. Okay, and you can be creative, you can be innovative without thinking of the failure. The good thing about entrepreneurship is you're not taking the risk alone. The main founder of that business, where you're creating your own business inside that, they will also be responsible for the failure. So you have a kind of back support, right? For example, if an employee of mine has a crazy idea and works on it, if he fails, it's not going to be a problem because I am also going to take the responsibility, right? So that is a good advantage. You have a support. You don't have to take the full responsibility or full failure of the project. And also you get support from the company, resources from the company, because we know that when you're an entrepreneur, when you start your own business, you may not have an office space, you may not have finance, the right finance, you may not have extra support or to groom you. So there'll be a team always helping you out with things. Yeah. So keep that in mind. So yeah, any question, please shoot. I'm here to answer any questions. Now, barriers to entrepreneurship. Now, when you start a business, there are a lot of barriers and obstacles. It's not easy. It's my fifth year, and I feel tired. I mean, every day you have something to tackle, especially if it's a startup. Think about that. There are a lot of barriers. There are a lot of just checking our Facebook page. So to just check if we have any questions. Okay. So the first and foremost barrier is lack of finance. When I started our organization, I was new. I just finished my bachelor's, I just finished my master's, and I did not have much savings, or I did not have a lot of money. I did not have a lot of contacts. I was an inexperienced entrepreneur. I didn't know how money could be managed, right? Sense is always the first hurdle. Okay, so lack of finance, and people, why people would invest in you? Because you're just new, you're just fresh, you don't have any credibility. Banks will be reluctant to give you money because you don't have, because in order to take money, in order to borrow money from the bank, you need to have some history. আগে কোনো লোন ছিল না কিনা, তুমি কে অ্যাজ আ কাস্টমার, তুমি কিরকম, ওটা কোনো হিস্ট্রি নাই. And I had problems in getting loans in the beginning because I did not have history, or new entrepreneurs will not have a credit history. So lack of finance will be a great hurdle. And there's this example, a great example here, that in the UK, this is statistics in the UK. I don't know the statistics in Bangladesh, but in the UK, since we are following a British curriculum, 581,000 new businesses were formed. 581,000 businesses were formed. 5,21,000 business হয়েছিল এক বছরে, 2015. And then 20% of them failed in the first year. In the first year, 20% failed. And then in the next 2 years, 50% failed. Sorry, in the next 3 years. That means a total of 70% failed in the first, I think, 3 or 4 years. So the rate of failure is quite high for a new business. And therefore, investors, banks tend to invest in your finance is the biggest issue. Okay? Make notes as I'm talking. Then lack of entrepreneurial capacity, and after, because see, you don't learn leadership, you don't learn entrepreneurship when you're born. I feel leaders, of course, you may have qualities, but then if you don't draw those qualities all the time, polish those qualities all the time, and if you don't use it in the right context, you will lose it. So I feel leaders, and when you start your own business, you will not be experienced. You will have lackings in a lot of things. You will not have the right entrepreneur skills, because to be an entrepreneur, you need a lot of skills, and that we've talked about, right? You need to know how to manage finance and marketing, and have confidence. You should be able to bounce back. All those things are there. Communication, skills. So when you start off, you may not have all the skills, but that's really fine. You will learn it on the way. When I started, I did not know a lot of things. And then slowly, I I made mistakes, and I'm still making mistakes. But it'll be all okay at one point of time. And you will see that, when a new business problems for the years or 12 years, they are their own journey. They are discovering what to do and what not to do. When they figure out everything, the business will be successful. Okay, but it should not prevent you from trying. There will be lackings, but if you feel it's fine, you should keep on improving yourself. Okay, so lack of entrepreneurial skills or capacity is one of the barriers to entrepreneurship. Next up is being an employer. It means, when you're an employer, when you're hiring people, it's a lot of responsibility, because you have to pay them salary on time. If they're sick, you need to pay them sick pay. You need to take the responsibility. Some companies pay for food, lodging, transport. If there are any issues regarding health and safety or any other issues, you have to take care of it, right? Then taxes needs to be paid. That's what national insurance is known for. National insurance is a British term. It's more known in England, right? So when you work for a company, tax will be deducted by the national insurance. Okay, and the employer is responsible for it. Okay, you will have a card, national insurance, and everything will be fine. You can also claim your tax back once you retire or once you leave the job. Okay, employees need to be trained, so there's a lot of responsibilities for an employer. Yeah, you have to pay them on time, you have to train them, taxes are involved, sick pay is involved, health and safety issues, or any other issues. Okay, so yeah, and sometimes employees may be unreliable, they may damage the reputation. So you have to be very careful on what kind of skills you're hiring, on what kind of labor you're hiring. Okay, so that is barriers to entrepreneurship. We also have legal barriers. Yes, in every country there's a legal procedure. Yes, um, every country, it's bureaucratic. You have to follow a set of procedure. Okay, you have to comply with laws and legislations and environment. If you're starting a factory, let's say you cannot pollute. Pollution environment has to be less than a certain percentage. Taxation is involved, property rights. Um, yeah, there are a lot of things. You cannot build factory in every place. It needs to have the right water connection, the right gas connection, or if they have it there. So there are a lot of things that you need to think about in terms of legality of a business, right? And especially if you're a public limited company and a private limited company, your the paperwork is unmatchable. Okay, there's a lot of legality that you have to follow, process. Okay, so there are legal barriers. Okay, and this can discourage new entrepreneurs. When I came in, I was overwhelmed with taxes, with paperwork and trade license and contracts. Yes, I read them on in books and on paper, but then I never experienced it. So I had to learn, you know, thing. I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn, on the job. So yeah, legal barriers. Then sometimes lack of ideas. Sometimes lack of ideas. You may not have a lot of ideas, or simply the market may be saturated. Think about the mobile phone market. I mean, a lot of them may criticize Samsung, Apple, that they're not taking out really innovative smartphones anymore. They used to, but not now. But I think it's not right to blame them in that way. The market is saturated. Uh, there's no other way to be innovative. Innovation is at its peak in terms of mobile phones. I think mobile phones will have less innovation in the future. Okay, there will not be a breakthrough innovation. That's what I feel. Okay, because we've crossed that path, and now things will be different. People are working on AI. People are working on different segments. So the market may be saturated. The mobile phone market is also overcrowded and competitive. Yes, you have so many brands. So there may be lack of ideas. So think about that, or it may be saturated, or the competition may be fierce. Okay, um, fear of failure, that's always there, that you don't want to fail, because when you start your own business, if you fail, people may make fun of you, right? And we know the chances of your business to be successful is really small. The statistics that we had in UK, they had 581,000 businesses, and 70 to 80% of them failed in the first 4 years. So the chances are quite high. And when you fail, in many cultures, it has negative associations. People deem you as losers, people deem you as unsuccessful, but that's not right. Even if you're unsuccessful, as an entrepreneur, you gain a lot of knowledge, plethora of knowledge, right? Which is which cannot be compared with anything. Yes, so I don't see that if even if your business fails, I don't see it as a failure, because in that process you have learned a lot of things. But there are always fear of failure in every entrepreneurs, even me, that I've created this business and I don't want to fail. The other problem is, entrepreneurs, after a certain time, they cannot work for others. That's also a problem, because they're independent, they work in their own way, they're more creative, they have a say in everything. Okay. If you have any questions, please do not forget to comment on the comment section here. We're doing very well, 35 minutes in. Then comes aversion to risk. People sometimes, I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs, they've started the business, but then they don't take risk. Now, if you don't take risk, you will not grow. You will not be able to explore the different opportunities that lie in front of you. Okay? Because it is said in business that when the risks are higher, the success rate is also higher. And of course, the failure rate is also high. But then if you're successful, you will gain a lot. Okay? So don't be fear of risk. If you started business, that's a risk itself. So do not fall back in taking risk. Okay, analyze. Of course, I'm not asking you to jump from 10th floor, but analyze and see that if you see that it's logical, please go ahead. Okay. Corrupt and unsupportive environment, like some businesses have their own way of working. Like, for example, I don't want to go deep down into this matter. I don't want to be political, but whatever is happening in Bollywood nowadays, a lot of truth has come out how a certain industry functions. A lot of questions has been put forward on nepotism, nepotistic people just giving work to the family. I don't know whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying. So there may be, a certain way of working in an industry. The industry may be corrupt. It may be unsupportive, or it may have a certain way of doing businesses, and you may find it difficult. Okay, there may be bribery, there may be corruption, so there we go. And therefore, you need to have friendly tires, friendly relationship with government, with top officials, with powerful people, and it will become easy for you to penetrate into the market. Yeah. So think about that. Then let's talk about anticipating. The next topic is anticipating risk in the business. If you have any question, put it down here. So you have to, when you start a business, you have to anticipate risk, because you've given up secured employment. Let's say you have this opportunity for a job that will pay you 1 lakh a month, but instead of taking that opportunity, you have started your own business where you have employed a lot of people. So you have to take that risk. You will have used your own money, right? And you can lose everything. Okay, and in the further, you may have to take further risk. So you have to anticipate this risk all the time. Okay. Where money is involved, the risk is there. Even when you are, let's say, when you're offering customers product in credit, let's say, बाकी थे तुम्हें जिनिस दिच्छो customer के, that is also risk, because they may not pay you later. So as a business person, you always have to take risk at every step. Okay. But then, of course, you can take measures to stop them. Okay. Do not give trade credit, or do a background research before giving them trade credit. Okay. And you can analyze before taking a step, that okay, whether we should do or not do it. Okay. You can consult with experts. Okay. You may have a team that can consult with you. Yeah. And I've talked about this. The more risk you take, the rewards could be greater, but then you can also have a lot of losses, right? So let's say, for example, let's say you want to enter a new market. Let's say you make this phones for America, but now you want to enter Bangladesh, and you feel if you enter Bangladesh, you will be very successful. And yes, you're right. If you're successful, you will earn a lot of profit. You will make a lot of money. But again, on the other hand, on the contrary, you are selling this phone in a different market. People may have different taste and preferences, and it may it may be a complete failure. So so you have to take this kind of risk, anticipating risk, okay, um, and anticipating uncertainty in the business. There may be Brexit. You've heard of Brexit, right? Britain has come out of EU. That means now Britain, if they want to do England, if they want to do business with Europe, there'll be a lot of laws and regulations because now they're not a part of EU. So there'll be uncertainty. If you're doing business with France, let's say you are in England, now if you're doing business with France, now there'll be more legal procedure involved because now England is not a part of EU. There may be a situation like COVID-19. What do you do then? So you have to anticipate uncertainty. There may be terrorist attacks. I don't know. There may be financial crisis. So you have to anticipate risks. You have to anticipate uncertainty in the internal and external environment as well. Okay, but then of course you can prevent this by doing analysis, by doing SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of your organization. You can do a pestle analysis, right? For the environment, for the external environment. You can predict, and in big companies, you have counselors and you have advisors who will constantly try to predict the future. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So you have to anticipate risk. You have to anticipate uncertainty. There will be risks. There will be uncertain events, and you have to predict. You have to take steps to stop them. Okay, uh, analyze the situation. Great. We have finished this chapter. It's chapter 19, which is nice. Great. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson thoroughly. We have talked about finance, administration, marketing, purchasing, managing people, production, risks, uncertainty, and barriers in a business. Okay. So there we go. Please do not hesitate to follow our Facebook page. Just type in Fyruz Education Services. You can also follow us on Instagram. Just type in Fyruz Education Services. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Type in Fyruz Education Services again. And yeah, you can also send me a friend request. We run a live class on my personal page as well. So, and do not hesitate to share it with your friends and family. It's completely free. So yeah, thank you very much. I will see you in the next class. It was a great class, and thank you.